do two lessons today, outcomes and events, and also probability. So let's start with outcomes and events. We have some vocabulary first. An experiment is an investigation or a procedure that has varying results. So the results might be different one time you do the experiment compared to the next time you do the experiment. Outcomes are all of the possible results of an experiment, so the different ways that the experiment could end. And then an event is a collection of one or more outcomes, so some different ways that the experiment could go. And then favorable outcomes are the outcomes of a specific event. So we'll look at some examples of what this means. So here's our first example. We have a standard six-sided die numbered 1 through 6. What are the possible outcomes? Well, we have 6. We could get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So there are 6 possible outcomes, and here they are listed. What are the favorable outcomes for rolling an even number? So out of all of the different outcomes, which ones are even? That would be 2, 4, and 6. So those would be favorable outcomes if we wanted to roll an even number. And then what are the favorable outcomes of rolling a number greater than 5? Well, there's only one number that's greater than 5, that's 6. So that's the only favorable outcome if we want to roll a number greater than 5. All right, so here's another example. We have this spinner, and we want to know how many different outcomes are there. Well, there's 6 spaces that the spinner could land, so there are 6 possible outcomes. Even though there are less than 6 colors, there are 6 different places where the spinner could land. And how many ways can spinning red occur? That would be 3 different ways. Because there are 3 different red outcomes, there are 3 ways that spinning red could occur. And then in how many ways can spinning not purple occur? Well, out of the 6 possible outcomes, 5 of them are not purple. So there would be 5 outcomes that would fit that description. And then what are the favorable outcomes of spinning not purple? So that would be, these 5 would be red, 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 that's 3 of them, green, and blue. And obviously we wouldn't need to list them in that order, but those are the 5 outcomes where purple is not spun. All right, so we'll move on to the second part of this, which is probability. And here we have some vocabulary again. So the probability of an event is a number that measures the likelihood that an event will occur. So take a look at this scale. We're basically going from 0 to 1, or 0% to 100%, with 50% or 1/2 in the middle. And if something has a probability of 0, it's impossible that that event will occur. So for example, if you're rolling a 6-sided die, what's the probability of rolling an 8? That would be impossible because there's no 8 on the die. All the way up to certain. So again, if we're rolling a 6-sided die, what's the probability of rolling a number less than 7? 100% chance that that's going to happen. It is certain that whatever number you roll will be less than 7. And then we've got anywhere in between here. So in the middle would be equally likely to happen and not happen. We have things that are unlikely but not impossible, things that are likely but not certain. So it kind of falls somewhere on that spectrum. So if we're looking at, there's an 80% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. Describe the likelihood of the event. If it's an 80% chance, we would say that that's likely if we look at our scale. It's not certain that it will rain, but it is pretty likely that it will rain. Okay, and then we have this key idea that when we're finding the probability of an event, if all outcomes are equally likely, like rolling a die, it's just as likely to land on one number as any other, the probability of an event is the ratio of the number of favorable outcomes to the number of possible outcomes. So we can write this as a ratio, favorable outcomes over possible outcomes. So let's use that idea to find some probability. if we roll the number cube, what is the probability of rolling an odd number? So we know there are 6 possible outcomes, so that's our denominator here. The probability equals, we want to think how many of those 6 outcomes are odd. Well, that would be 3. 3 out of 6, we have a 3 out of 6 chance. So we would simplify this to 1/2 or 50%. And we'll see probabilities written both ways, sometimes written as fractions, sometimes written as percents, sometimes written as decimals. Okay, using a probability. So the probability that you randomly draw a short straw from a group of 40 straws is 3 out of 20. So 3 times out of 20, you're going to draw a short straw. So we can set up a proportion here and say, well, how many short straws are there if there's actually 40 straws? We can solve this proportion, n equals 6. So our answer is 6 short straws. Okay. Is that it? I think that is it. Okay, go ahead and try the on your own. I'll see you soon.